The creepy NPC theory is essentially a modern, digital age way of grappling with an age-old philosophical question. Are we the only ones who are actually conscious? At its core, it's the idea that most people you pass on the street, interact with at a store, or see in the background of your life aren't playing the game with the same depth of consciousness that you have. They're like NPCs, non-player characters in a video game. They have pre-programmed routines, limited dialogue trees, and they only exist to fill the world around you so it doesn't feel empty. Here is how that feels in a realistic, human way. 1. The glitch in the matrix. Feeling. We've all had that moment where someone says something so perfectly scripted, or they act in such a weirdly repetitive way that your brain hits a snag. It feels like they aren't having a genuine, unpredictable human moment. It feels like they're just cycling through an animation. When you encounter someone who seems completely devoid of nuance or awareness, the theory suggests that they aren't hiding a rich inner life. They just don't have one. 2. The logic of loneliness. It's a deeply isolating way to look at the world, but it's easy to see why it happens. When you feel disconnected, or when life feels like a repetitive loop of work, school, and sleep, it's natural to start wondering if the background characters are just as bored as you are. If you treat everyone like a secondary character, you don't have to worry about whether they're judging you or if their life is more interesting than yours. It makes the world feel smaller and, in a weird way, safer. 3. Why it feels creepy. The creepy part comes from the implication that if they are NPCs, it's entirely possible that you are an NPC in someone else's life too. It's the realization that you are just a background character to hundreds of people you walk past every day. You're just the guy who stood behind them in line or the kid who walked by their window. That lack of significance is what really unsettles people. 4. The human reality. In reality, this theory is usually just a defense mechanism. It's a byproduct of the fact that we can't actually see inside anyone else's head. We have no objective proof that the person next to us feels love, pain, or existential dread exactly like we do. We just assume they do because we're social creatures. When things get too overwhelming or when we feel like we're on autopilot, it's tempting to project that feeling onto everyone else. It's a way of saying, if this world feels fake and repetitive, it's because it's designed that way, not because I'm losing my grip on it. Ultimately, it's just a symptom of the human condition. We are all so stuck in our own heads that everyone else eventually starts to look like a character in our personal story, rather than the protagonist of their own. Does that perspective align with why you've been thinking about this? Or is it more about the glitchy behaviors you've noticed? The egg theory is, in many ways, the darker, more existential cousin to the NPC theory. While the NPC theory suggests everyone else is a simulation, the egg theory suggests that everyone is actually you. Specifically, the idea, popularized by Andy Weir's short story, is that you are the only consciousness in existence. You are currently living through every human life that has ever lived, or will ever live, in a sequence of reincarnation. Once you have lived every life, you will hatch into something higher, a god, a cosmic entity, or something beyond human comprehension. Here is why that concept is deeply unnerving when you stop to think about it in a real human way. 1. The ultimate isolation. If you are the only consciousness, you are effectively trapped in a solitary confinement that spans all of time. Every person you have ever met, every person you have ever hurt, and every person you have ever loved, they are all just different masks you are wearing. You have never actually talked to another person. You've just been talking to yourself for all of eternity. It turns every interaction, no matter how intimate, into a monologue. 2. The weight of every atrocity. The most disturbing part of the theory is the karma aspect. If you are every person who has ever lived, then you are the victim and the perpetrator of every crime in history. You are the dictator and the dissenter. You are the person dying in a hospital bed, and you are the person ignoring them on the sidewalk. You aren't just watching human history unfold. You are responsible for the totality of human suffering and joy. There is no other to blame. 3. The main character. Trap. Most people like the idea of being the main character, but this theory turns that on its head. It strips away your individuality, your memories, your personality, your specific life as a 19-year-old in 2026. That's not your identity. It's just one outfit you're wearing for a few decades before you take it off and put on another. It makes your current existence feel disposable, like a temporary costume. 4. Why it feels creepy. It's the sheer exhaustion of the concept that makes it feel creepy. The idea that you have to experience everything, every heartbreak, every moment of physical pain, every betrayal, every loss to grow up is a horrifying thought. It implies that your current life isn't the beginning or the end. It's just one tiny, repeating segment of a process you never asked to be part of. The realistic reality. In a very human sense, this theory is the ultimate manifestation of empathy taken to an extreme, illogical conclusion. It's a way of trying to justify why humans treat each other so badly. We think, if only they realize that hurting others is actually hurting themselves, maybe they'd stop. But living in that mindset is terrifying. It forces you to look at a stranger and try to reconcile the fact that they are, in this cosmic sense, a version of you. It makes the world feel crowded, heavy, and weirdly claustrophobic, as if you are the only person in a room full of mirrors, and you can't tell which reflection is yours. Does the idea of being everyone feel more comforting because it means you're never truly alone? Or does the loss of your own unique identity make the whole thing feel like a nightmare? The reptilian theory is a different kind of monster than the NPC or egg theories. While the others are existential, concerned with the nature of reality and your place in it, the reptilian theory is political and visceral. At its core, it suggests that the world is run by a race of shape-shifting, cold-blooded humanoids from another star system, usually the Draco constellation, who have infiltrated the highest levels of human government, finance, and media. Here is how it hits differently. 1. The predatory elite. The theory is designed to explain the unexplainable cruelty of the world. When you look at systemic corruption, wars, or massive wealth inequality, it's hard to reconcile that with human nature. You want to believe that someone somewhere cares about the greater good. The reptilian theory provides a grim answer. They don't care because they aren't human. It frames the elite not as greedy humans, but as a predatory species that views us, at best, as cattle, and at worst, as a food source, sometimes referred to as feeding on loosh, or fear energy. 2. The uncanny valley of power. This theory plays on the physical, uncanny valley. It points to those moments where world leaders seem to have glitches, a weird eye twitch, an awkward movement, or a moment of perceived coldness, and uses them as evidence of a mask slipping. It's creepy because it takes the distance between you and the people who run the world and makes it biological. They aren't just out-of-touch politicians. They are literally a different species that cannot relate to the human experience. 3. The sense of being kept. Unlike the NPC theory, where you might be the only real person, or the egg theory, where you are everyone, the reptilian theory makes you feel like property. It's the ultimate us versus them narrative. It suggests that there is a secret, centuries-old war happening right under our noses, and we are the unwitting pawns trapped in a system designed to keep us fearful, distracted, and obedient. 4. The human reality, why it persists. The reason this theory is so persistent, despite being scientifically groundless, is that it serves as a powerful metaphor. Institutional distrust. When public institutions fail us repeatedly, the idea that they are being run by aliens is almost easier to digest than the truth, that humans are capable of immense, cold, and calculated cruelty toward one another without any extraterrestrial help. Finding meaning in chaos. It turns a messy, complex world into a simple story. Good, the common people, versus evil, the hidden invaders. The creepy takeaway. What's truly unsettling isn't the idea of a lizard man in a suit. It's the realization that some people find the idea of a secret reptilian conspiracy more comforting than the reality of our world. If the people in power are monsters from another planet, then real humans aren't the ones to blame for the state of the world. It's a way to keep your faith in humanity intact by externalizing the evil. It forces you to look at a powerful figure on the news and wonder, is their coldness a choice, or is it just their biology? When you look at current events, do you find yourself looking for those glitches in leadership? Or do you find the theory itself to be more of a distraction from how the world actually works?